Please
We
start.
can start, sir.
Okay. Very good morning and Assalamu alaikum. This is welcome to the eighth stop of the Indus River System webinar series, jointly organized by the National Center of GS Space Applications, National Center of Excellence in Geology, University of Peshawar, Geological Survey of Pakistan, and Colorado, University of Colorado, School of Mines, Colorado. This time we are honored to have Professor Dr. Rasool Bux Mahar with us. He will give a talk on water resources of Indus River system. Professor Dr. Rasool Bux is working currently as a professor and head of the department in the U.S. Pakistan Center for Advanced Studies in Water at Mehran University of Engineering and Technology, Jamshoro. He's also the chief editor of the Mehran University of Journal, Research Journal of Engineering and Technology. He has more than 25 years of teaching and research experience. He has remained the PI of many departments of many research projects. He has been remained as the co-editor, co-director, head of the Department of Environmental Engineering Department in the Institute of Environmental Engineering Management, Mehran University. He also worked as a PI in various research projects. So with this, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Rasool Bux Mahar to take over and start his presentation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mustaq Gilan Saab, and I am very much thankful to Professor Dr. Qasim Jan Saab, and who invited me and to give the webinar presentation on the water resources of the Indus River system, and distinguished guest participants, and very good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Actually, my today's talk on the water resources of the river Indus system. So I am going to presenting today what are the sources of water in Pakistan, and I will talk about the Indus Basin irrigation system. What are the water management issues in Pakistan, and as well as I will talk on the Indus Water Treaty, Water Apportionment Accord 1991, that is basically inter-provincial accord, and as well as I will talk on the water availability and on the storages. Also, I talk on the climate change and hydrological implications, Indus Delta, sea level rise, and maybe some, in the end, I will give recommendation. So you can see the Indus system comprises of main Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Byas, Satluj, and Kabul rivers. Basin is mainly shared by India and Pakistan, with a small share of China and Pakistan. Sources of water in Pakistan, that is mainly from the rainfall and glaciers, as well as we have a groundwater. Rain contribution, that is around 20 to 30%. Snow and glaciers, that a major portion is coming from the snow and glacier melts, that is 50%, and groundwater around 55 million acres. Rainfall, basically Pakistan lies in an arid and semi-arid climate zone, and sources of rainfall is a monsoon, and this monsoon occur in the Bay of Bengal, and from where these rainfall occurs, and mainly in the summer. As far as western disturbances, basically is an extra tropical storm originating in the Mediterranean region that brings sudden water in winter rain to the northern parts of the Indian subcontinent in Pakistan and India, which extends at the east and up to the northern part of Bangladesh and southeastern Nepal. Mean annual rainfall in a lower Indus plain, we have between 100 to 500 millimeter. Upper Indus plain having up to 1000 millimeter. Average seasonal rainfall in Kharif 212 millimeter and in Rabi 53. Annual precipitation, we have a time series of annual average rainfall over Pakistan from 1900 to 2007 data, you can see from 1901 to 1951 that precipitation is a decline trend, but from 1956 and up to 2006, that is not decline, but it is a little bit increase in the rainfall. So total change is around 61 millimeter. Here glacials, that is also, we have HKH, also known as the Asian Water Tower, alone covers an area of 4 billion square, expanding over 8 countries. The Indus River Basin consists of 18,495 glaciers covering an area of 21,192 square kilometers with the ice reserve of 2,696 cubic kilometers. The glaciers and snow melt in the upper Indus Basin contribute to more than 80% of the flow, and only Karakoram mountain ranges contribute to more than 50% of the flow to the Indus River. Global warming has caused the receding of glaciers all over the world, strengthening Himalaya and West. However, the glaciers important in the high of the Karakoram mountain ranges are advancing. Surface water average annual volume of water from rainfall and snow made is 145 million acre feet. But diversion for irrigation only we can do 104.73, and flow to sea that is 39.40, and system losses that is 9.90. This is the, you can see the data. This graph is showing the variation in the flow from 2001 to around 2019. And this is basically is taken at the observed flow at Bisham Killa in Qmix and in 2010. So this flow is little bit increasing rather decreasing. If you see in this trend line, total groundwater potential in Pakistan that is 55 million acre feet, and groundwater abstraction that is 41.5. Punjab basically there's expecting more, that is 81%, 80% fresh water and 20% saline. Sindh that is a 12% abstraction because mostly groundwater in Sindh is brackish, saline. So only they are abstracting 23% fresh water and 77% saline. At KPK, there is a 5% abstraction, and in Balochistan, only 1%. Growth in the use of tube wells, you can see the tube well that is around 1,200 tube wells used for the groundwater pumping. So maximum pumping is done in Punjab, and then second that is in Sindh, and then Balochistan and KPK. Water resources management. Water resources management is the integrating concept for a number of water subsectors, includes irrigation, water supply for drinking purpose, industrial use, hydropower, and environment. Integrated water resources perspective ensures that social and economic, environmental, and technical dimensions are taken into account in the management and water resources. Indus Basin irrigation system basically under colonial rule from 1800 to 50 to 1947, that is 67 million acre feet, and post independence from 1947 to 60, that is 85 million acre feet, and after Indus Water Treaty 1960, 108 to 105 million acre. This is the basically schematic diagram of Indus Basin irrigation system showing all the canals and headworks and water that is ending in the Arabian Sea. Key water information, that is basically number of major rivers. We have five Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, and Satluj. Number of major reservoirs, that is a 3. Number of barrages, around 23. Number of main canals, 45. Number of interlink canals, 1200. Length of canals, around 60,800 kilometers. Length of water courses, there is 1.6 million kilometers. Average canal water diversion, around 104.7 million acre feet. Groundwater abstraction, 41.6 million acre feet. Number of tube wells and irrigated area, 36 million acres. Average capacity that to the sea, that is a 39.4. Water management issue, that is a basically governance issue, is a big issue. You know, the farmers at the head take more water, and farmers at the tail that will get very less water. So there is a really big issue of the managing of the water as far as capacity of the staff in institutional buildings, as well as we have a transboundary water issues. Per capita water availability is limited because the population is increasing and water availability is a fixed, as well as the groundwater depletion because we are over abstracting the groundwater. Erratic rainfall patterns soon is shifting, and maybe we need a rainfall not a months to sometimes lot of time, as well as a rise in temperature, glaciers depletion due to the global warming are melting. Sea level rise is of course when more water goes, sea level will rise. So extreme events means extreme floods, extreme droughts. These are the water management issues. We have rapid population growth, lot of urbanization because of the water. Rural population is moving towards the livelihood in the urban cities. Filtration of major reservoirs because of the sediment deposit capacity of the reservoirs is reducing. Because of the untreated wastewater discharges, water is really polluted and having a lot of health risks. Low agricultural productivity, Pakistan having a really very less low as compared to our neighbor countries and other developed countries. Loss of biodiversity as well as Indus Delta deterioration. So these are our major issues. Now I little will talk about the Indus Water Treaty, and that is basically after independence, there was issue with India and Pakistan, and then finally with the help of the interference from the international bodies and the World Bank, Pakistan and India, they made a treaty in 1960 that is called Indus Water Treaty, in which all waters of eastern rivers, namely Ravi, Beas, and India, and all waters of western rivers, namely Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab, allocated to Pakistan, except some specified uses in aquifers. Pakistan to meet the requirements of its eastern river canals from western rivers by constructing suitable replacement works, safeguards incorporated in the treaty, unrestricted flow of waters in the either party constructing a work affecting the other party to inform the other party at least 6 months in advance and supply necessary details to enable the other party to satisfy sales that proposed work does not address the other
Hello,
party
hello, sir.
constituted toward the implementation of the treaty and resolved by negotiation.
Excuse me, sir. Your voice is too slow. We cannot hear you properly. If you can speak a little loud, please.
Okay, okay, I will.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
So now I'm audible?
Yes, it's
Yes,
better
yes,
now. Thank you.
Okay. So procedure for the settlement of differences and disputes outlined has been established. Really, this Indus Water Commission is working as very properly even after war. that is working during war, that is still working and following the whatever committed in the Indus Water Treaty. So both countries, they are cooperating with each other. So existing uses of provinces remain untouched and protected. Now I'm a little bit giving overview on the Water Apportionment Accord 1991. And in this accord, which basically in Sindh and Balochistan and Punjab, that how to distribute water. So this accord made in 1991. In this accord, existing uses of provinces remain untouched and protected. KPK and Balochistan projects which are under executions are provided their authorized quota of water as the existing uses. Need for additional storage on the Indus and other rivers admitted and recognized for planned future agriculture development. Need for the minimum escapages to the sea downstream of the Kotri to check sea intrusion recognized and future studies desire to establish minimal escapages needs to below Kotri. No restriction on Balochistan to develop water resources of Indus tributaries flowing through its area. Establishment of Indus Water Authority for implementation of the accord recognized and accepted. And now we have IRSA, and IRSA's headquarters initially was in Lahore, and now that headquarters in Islamabad, and to have a representation from the 4 provinces. Sharing procedure laid down in para 14B of the accord. Provinces are free to undertake new projects within their agreed share. Within their allocation, provinces may modify use system wise and period wise. Water accords like Punjab's Kharif and Rabi uh, MAF that is given here in 37.07 and Rabi 18.8 and total 55.94. Similarly for Sindh and including already sanctioned urban and industrial uses for metropolitan Karachi city as well as for KPK that's having 3.48 and 2.3, 5.78. Civil canals basically that is above from the rim stations. So that is the ungauged civil canals above the rim stations. So that is around 3 million acre feet their low volume of the water, and Balochistan having their part in Kharif 2.85 million acre feet and Rabi 1.02. So some water beyond that limit that will be divided according to Punjab will get for the future storages shall be distributed like Punjab will take 37%, Sindh 37%, KPK 14%, Balochistan 12%. Para 14 of accord that is system-wise allocations will be worked out separately on 10 daily basis and will be attached with the agreement as a part and parcel of it. Record of the actual average system uses for the period 1977 to 82 would form the guideline for the developing future regulation pattern. These 10 daily uses would be adjusted pro rata to correspond to indicated seasonal allocations of different canal systems and would form the basis for sharing storages and surplus on all Pakistan bases. Water Accord 1991 Indus River System Authority comprises 5 members, one from each province, one from the federal government. First chairman member was from Balochistan, and presently the chairman of IRSA from Sindh. So there was the mechanism developed and term of office chairman 1 year and member for 3 years. Decision taken by the majority of votes in case of equality of votes, Chairman IRSA exercising casting vote. Agreed party to approach Council of Common Interest for redressal. If there is an issue, to aggrieved party to approach Council of Common Interest for redressal. This is the per capita storage of water. You see, this bar chart is showing Pakistan is a really very having a low storage capacity is only 150 million acre feet. However, in India, having a very large, huge population, even though their storage capacity is more than with Pakistan, there's a 220 million acre feet. You see here also there is a big issue of variable availability of Indus Basin water. Because you see in 1979 maximum flow was 183 million acre feet, and from 1976 to 2017 average annual flow was 145 million acre feet, and in 2002 minimum flow it was 99 million acre feet. Another thing I want to share that 80% of water only flow from the river in 100 days, and 20% of water 265 days in a low flow period. So to you see, this is a big issue because if you have a not water in uniform flow, so in within 3 months it is very difficult to get a more yield and more crop. Uncertainty in the annual water availability, you can see this graph. This is showing data from 1960 to 2020, and there is a dotted line that is showing the average annual and availability of water in million acre feet. So there's a lot of variability in the per capita water availability. You see that is a projected and that is really in 2025, that is reaching the 1000 meter cube per person per year. You know that, as I already said, that water which is available, that is a fix, and population is growing. So when we divide, of course, this availability will decline. And so if with the same passage, if a population is growing and we use very old and conventional method for irrigation and these things, so this will really create a big trouble, and maybe that will be the big cause of the food security. Will food security. Here you can see water used for irrigation. We are using 93% water for the irrigation. India and Pakistan having the same, but the other developed countries they use less. But in the UK, there's a 3%. But why 3%? Because there's a lot of rainfall there, so they don't need that water for irrigation, and mostly their crop on the rainfall. But usually our use is very high. Here you can see the carryover factor for the storage, like Pakistan having only the 30 days storage. However, in India, there's a 120 to 220 days. And in US, there is a 900 days because they have a Hoover Dam, and that is a Hoover Dam have a large capacity, so they can store for water for 900 days. And we are really very less capacity for the storage. Storage loss in the existing reservoirs, like in Tarbela, that is it was 9.69 and 6.7 presently. So loss due to sedimentation is 30%. In Mangla, it was 5.3, but due to the raising of the Mangla, the storage capacity little will it increased, so now 7.5. Similarly, in Chashma, that is 0.72 initially, and now it's decreased to 0.25. So there's a huge loss because of the sedimentation. Silent features of Mangla Dam, that the earth-filled dam, height 380 feet and length 10,300 feet, lake area that is 97.70 square miles, catchment area 12,870 square miles, gross capacity 5.88 and 5.34. But now, as I said, that because of the raising, that capacity increase reached to 7 million acre feet. Main spillway, there's 1.0 million cubics. Year of completion 1967, and hydropower generation is like 1,000 megawatt. So Mangla Dam has been reduced by 15% due to silting, and raising of Mangla Dam's So that is a increase height 40 feet and additional storage increase 3.1 million acre feet, as well as additional power by raising of the Mangla Dam. We got 1,000 gigawatt hour. Tarbela Dam, that is earth-fill and rock-fill dam, height 485 feet, reservoir area 95 square miles, gross storage capacity 11.62 million acre feet, live storage 9.7, main spillway capacity 6.5 million cusics, and year of completion 1977. Power generation, that is a 3,478 megawatt. So climate change, hydrological implications, that is increasing temperature, and because of the increase of temperature, evapotranspiration is increasing, water quality is deteriorated, and also there's causing the droughts, change in precipitation intensity of the rainfall is increasing, frequency is decreasing, magnitude of floods and the droughts, that is increasing, change in water availability, a rise in sea level, inundation of coastal areas, salinity intrusion. These are the big climate change threats to Pakistan. You can see this graph. This graph is showing the rise of temperature trend, and that is increase around 0.6 degrees Celsius up to 2000. And here you can see the heat waves over northern areas. You see this data is showing from 1981 to 2005. So initially heat waves was 10 days, 13 days, and 14 days, and so this temperature basically in northern areas is greater than 30 degree. Similarly, heat waves in northern areas greater than 35 degrees, so that is also increasing. If you see the data from 85 to 2005, so from 6 to 10 days. Another is the increase in temperature in northern areas greater than 40 degrees. So this is also same trend from 6 to 10 days. Slope of the mean annual temperature over Pakistan during 48-year period 1960 to 2007 was found as 0.06 degrees Celsius per decade, and from 2060 to 2007 it is 0.24 degrees Celsius per decade. You see this is a big increase in temperature per 10 years that is calculated. So rate of the increase is higher than the rate of increase observed globally. Indus Delta flow in the Indus downstream of Kotri barrage from 2001 to 2014 was zero on around 65% of days in a year. So average percentage of zero flow days downstream of Kotri from 1960 to 2000 was about 30%, whereas the percentage was zero before 1960. One official study was conducted after 14 years after signing a water apportionment accord where a minimum continuous flow downstream of Kotri barrage is recommended 5,000 cusics by the panel of experts. But that is not going. Global warming will cause melting ice sheets and glaciers and thermal expansion of oceans, which ultimately lead to rises in the sea level all around the globe. Due to rising sea level, coastal areas are increasingly experience adverse impacts such as coastal inundation, coastal flooding, coastal erosion, loss of wetland, estuaries, saltwater entering, rising water table, datum change, infrastructure damage, loss of agriculture productivity, and socioeconomic. Indus Delta is located in the southern east of Pakistan and covers an area of about 6,000 square kilometers. Delta of mighty Indus River comprises of 17 major creeks, numerous minor creeks, and mudflats. The Indus Delta estuary covers an area of 36 square kilometers. Currently, active delta has reduced to 10% of its original area. which once was fully active. Earlier, the Indus River provided 40 million tons of silt per year to the delta, and it was one of the largest sediment providing rivers of the world. But unfortunately, today the lower reaches of the river are highly affected by the intermittent flow of the downstream of the Kotli River. So the reduction of water and sediment load resulted land erosion and seawater intrusion. In the dry season, the seawater has the potential to intrude to 84 kilometers upstream of the delta, and the average land erosion rate is 0.179 to 0.013 kilometer per year. The salinity found in the creeks is higher than the salinity of seawater itself. Salinity of the water in the coastal area of Karachi has reached 37,000 ppm, while it has increased to 42,000 ppm in the tidal creeks at the back. So, seawater intrusion has degraded 12% of the cultivable land of Sindh province. In addition, millions acres of Indus Delta has been degraded and causing migration of around 0.25 million people. Moreover, a study conducted by Chandi Hotel and reported the seawater intrusion is deteriorating 80 acres of land per day. The subsurface intrusion of sea water has degraded 1.15 million hectare or 80% of the entire delta, and only 0.15 million hectare or 11% is affected, Sial et al. Reported 2018. Thus, it is obvious that seawater intrusion has deteriorated the ecosystem, groundwater resources, agriculture productivity in the delta. So, way forward, we have a really big issue of policies. A national water policy is approved, but after devolution 2018, the water policy is a provincial subject, and now in Sindh, some of the provinces they have got the approval of the policy, and Sindh government is still in the process of getting approval. And not only the policy issue, but sometimes policies are there, but implementation of the policy that is a really big challenge. As well as climate change policies, also national policies approved, but provinces also has to get approval. Since didn't get approval of the climate policy yet. Similarly, and other issues of the governance are the recycling and reuse of water. Let me tell you that in the developed countries, when they give the water from the river to the city, urban cities, and then ask them, you treat the water and then you discharge again into the river. So they allow, suppose they are not treating and again they are not discharging in the river back, they are not giving them. So they have some policies and ask the cities, when you take this much quantity, again, some percentage of that you must treat all, but same you can return back. So we really need such policies for recycling and reuse of water. Water pricing is very much necessary. Capacity building of the staff, institutional building, ensure coordination among the provinces and organizations, which is really key of success. Increase our water storage capacity, watershed level, we need some reservoir to store water for the power purpose. Educate drainage, that is very much important. Address the critical development challenges is required. And there is a need to raise the awareness about the climate change and water management. Climate change adaptation should be given priority. Water saving technology need to introduce. Really, we still mostly our 97% irrigation, that is a flood irrigation method, and our land that is not really leveled properly. We are not using advanced technology, water saving technology. So that is very much necessary. We need to train our farmers and they use water saving technology. We need to harvest the water. We need to restrict the groundwater pumping, because more pumping if you do, then all the salinity will come, and again your land fertility will decrease and land will salinize, and ultimately what will happen? You cannot grow the crop, and that affect the yield, that affect the food for the livelihood of the people. Incentive may be given for the progressive, for those who use advanced technology, water saving technology. We need incentive to them. Reinforce knowledge and data sharing. There's very much necessary. Water quality may be ensured. In the developed countries, they don't allow anything, even they don't allow to animals to drink water from the rivers and canal. And here in Pakistan, unfortunately, we are discharging untreated domestic and industrial water in our freshwater bodies and contaminating those bodies. And ultimately, downstream, same water we are using for drinking purpose. And huge money we are putting for the health cure. I think prevention is better than cure. We should protect our water bodies, and we should not invest a lot of money on for the health care. We put for the water treatment plant, and we may protect our water resources. So we should not pay too much for the medicine and cure. We must go for the renewable energies. So basically, this is the mitigation to the climate change. Nowadays, really, these renewable is more really day by day is going to be cheaper. Grow the crops, heat resistant crops, biosaline resistant crops. We go for the biosaline, salinity resistant crops, because climate change adaptation is necessary. Of course, Pakistan is not contributing too much to change the climate, but Pakistan is a really bigger affectee, and we have to go for the climate change adaptation. If temperature is increasing, then what crops we need to grow? If something in a high flood, how to we conserve our people in high flood? We provide safe drinking water, clean water. So we have to do the planning and adaptation strategy for our people. So this is all. These are the references to of my talk and queries, comments. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Dr. Rasool Bux Mahar Sahab. Thank you for a very comprehensive talk. Now the session is open for question and answer. If there are some questions, please raise your hands. Okay, we have question for Professor Qasim Jan Sahab. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I would like to compliment our speaker. Wonderful, very informative, and comprehensive statistical data on the water system of Indus. And we are very happy to have had him for this presentation. There are two things I'd like to make comment. One is that he said in the early part of his talk that the flow to the Arabian Sea is about 39 million acres per year or whatever. I'm personally not sure if this is the case, because I have heard from several of my friends, particularly in Sindh area, that part of the problem of seawater encroachment and the problem of shrimps in the Arabian Sea, as well as um, uh, some other things, is that perhaps there is not sufficient water, or mangrove forest, perhaps there is insufficient water flowing into the Arabian Sea. And so I wonder whether the 39 million acre figure is correct or not. The second thing is that somewhere in his talk he mentioned that there is recommendation that there should be zero flow down the Kotri barrage. I'm not sure if I heard it correctly or not, but if this is the case, this would be a disaster. How can we stop the entire river from flowing into the Arabian Sea and not caring for the population below the Kotri barrage? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kasam Jan Saab, for really asking very wonderful and very important question. And I think that this your question will clarify our other audience too. So number one, what I have shared data 39.9 And basically, this I said in my talk that this fellow is not going. And but this is according to the share written by the data provided by the WAPDA. And I, in my presentation, when I talked on the Indus Delta, I said that in last 65% of the time between 1960 to 2000, only zero fellow went to the sea. So basically, it was the data given by the WAPDA, but actually, it is water is not going to the downstream Kotri Barrage. And in 1991, in the accord, it was decided the panel of experts they carry out the study and they will recommend the environmental flow for the Indus Delta. And they recommended that continuously 5,000 cubic water should go to the Indus Delta continuously, means every day. Cubic means cubic feet per second. On every second, this much quantity go into the sea. But unfortunately, that is not going. Only during high flood, some water is going. So this data, whatever is given in the table, that is average. If you suppose 1 year food one can eat in one day, is it possible? So when there is a flood, you can discharge because you don't have a capacity in the barrage to store that water. So you are releasing water to the Kotri. But whole the year that is a downstream Kotri barrage is a dry, and delta is not getting water as well as sediment, which is very much necessary for the ecology, very much necessary. Mud floods is needed in the estuaries that stop the seepage of water and also intrusion of the groundwater, underground intrusion of seawater that will stop. When mud floods are formed, they will stop the water which is intruding into the our land. I hope this my question will answer you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, we move to the next question that is by Zubair Baloch Saab. Sir, you can unmute your speaker and then you can start, please.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Uh, this is Zubair Ahmed. I am serving as a hydrogeologist in Balochistan. Sir, Dr. Saab, it was very tremendous talk. I would like to ask a general question regarding water salinity. We can't deny the seawater intrusion in coastal areas, but here my question is about salinity about groundwater. In the past, we were developing some that wells water quality was good. Now we are planning to install new wells in the same areas or same locations, but we find saline water. Sir, what can be the reason of the same water salinity in such areas?
So if we go down, then you will get the same water level, whatever our sea having a level. So when you go below zero, then what is the salinity in a sea water? Same, you will find the salinity near the coastal area. So whatever you have an upper thin layer that we call perched groundwater. That is basically from the rain and from our irrigation system that will go down and that form a one thin layer. So that is a sweet water. But if you go more down or you more pump out water from the ground, then upconing will take place and brackish water or saline water will come out. So basically, you have already pumped out whatever fresh water was in purged aquifer, and now whatever you are getting, that is really getting brackish water. What I said, that is in a sea. So of course, that is a sea intrusion is taking place.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to the next question by Bob. Bob, please.
Yeah, Dr. Rasool, I'm curious to know. It sounds like the situation in the Indus Delta is severe, and limited water resources must be getting to Karachi. I'm wondering about desalination and the opportunity to install desalination plants along the coast to increase the water supply for Karachi.
You are right because when there is no other source, and people go for the desalination, but especially in our lower section, the government also installed some RO plants to provide the fresh water to the people. But disposal of brine, reject water is really causing a big impact on our air, soil, because it's increasing salinity not on your agricultural land, which is cultivable. So that is really going, salinity is increasing day by day because they are not managing brine water properly.
Okay. Thank you. We have a question also from Dr. Mohammed Ashraf Saab. Sir, over to you. Unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rasool Bux Mahar sir, for this very informative presentation. I'm not going to ask any question, it's just a comment related to Dr. Qasim Jan and your explanation. When we talk about the flow below Kotri, definitely the figure you have reported, these are from the WAPDA figures, and there are also figures from the irrigation department, since those are also more or less same. So from almost 0 to 38-39% water is 39 million acre foot water is going below Kotri. You are 100% right that it required continuous flow of water to combat this to combat the seawater intrusion, to reduce its impact. I think it needs regulation of water throughout the years. For regulation of water, we need storage, we need regulator. It might be at the upstream areas, or it might be below Kotri, like the WAPDA has proposed the barrage. Barrage, basically, this barrage will be like the Chashma barrage, which not only will regulate water, but will also have the capacity to store some water. As you have rightly mentioned that it needs regulation. So I think the purpose of that barrage is to regulate the water, to regulate water between the two extremes. When there is more water, to store water and then regulate water. I think let's WAPDA finish the feasibility study. When they will be conduct this study, definitely feasibility study take into account all the aspects, economical aspects, ecological aspects, environmental aspects, and also the resettlements, impact on the human population, on habitats, all those feasibility study will take. I think let's wait for that feasibility study to be completed before we comment on its effectiveness or its the other way around. I think let not make it controversial at this stage unless the feasibility study is completed. So thank you very much, and over to you.
Thank you,
Dr. Thank you for your kind comments.
Thank you. I think we have another question also from Professor Qasim Jan Saab. Sir, over to you again. Professor Qasim Jan Saab. I think you're muted, sir.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
I have, this is a general question. No, it's not a question, but it's a comment people should think about. And that is that we are complaining, and perhaps rightly complaining, that we have a small water storage capacity in the country in comparison to many other countries. It's true. But then if we are going to increase the storage capacity through barrages and through dams, there is obviously going to be a lot of increase in evaporation. And with global warming, perhaps there will be more evaporation from these big reservoirs, which in itself could create a problem of availability. Although I don't know exactly what would happen in future, because climate increase, temperature increase could cause an increase in humidity, general humidity, which may result in lower evapotranspiration from these dams. But still, It would be nice for some people to really calculate how much surface area are we going to increase in future because of water storages, what would be the evaporation from those water storages. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, do you want to respond to it, Professor Rasool, sir?
I think Dr. Qasim Jan Sahab has really pointed out very good point. But you know, in our neighboring country, they are using solars, and they developed the floating solars. So what they are basically those floating solars, they are reducing the evaporation because the space is there, and they have installed the floating solar on the surface of the water, and they are getting the energy from. So I think our country also think about that that how if we can also get power from canals or where we have area like lakes, reservoirs, we can go for the solar panel that stop the evaporation. Rather, they will condense some water, because if a wind is blowing over that and the solar is there, vapors will come and then again converted into the water and go back into the water. So maybe we think about that, okay, we can go for this and cover our water bodies and get water. Thank you.
So we have a question also in the chat box by Waqar Ahmed, sir. His question is that government of Pakistan is thinking that they built a new Sindh barrage below Kotri downstream. His question is, what are the advantages to construct this barrage?
So I think Dr. Ashraf Saab can respond to this for this if he is there.
Okay. So Dr. Ashraf Saab, if you can respond.
So I think still not possible to comment on that, as Dr. Ashraf said, because there are a lot of saying people say that whatever level at Kotri Barrage and what is the level of the river bed at the where they are proposing Sindh Barrage, because we are not, our water center is in Jamshoro, but unfortunately, WAPDA or many people, they are conducting study. They haven't involved our center in this study. So we are the stakeholder and we are very much near to the location. But I don't know what they have a doubt, so they didn't involve our center for this study. And we don't have a data. Let's come, as Dr. Ashraf said, feasibility study, and then we can see what are the advantages or disadvantages for this.
Okay. I think we have a last question from Mukhtar Ghani, sir. Please take over.
Sir, I want to add a comment to this. We have another separate talk specifically on Sindh Barrage. I think it was almost 2 weeks ago. So we can share the link, and Dr. Saab discussed the detail about the disadvantages and advantages of Sindh Barrage in detail. So I think Waqar Ahmed Saab should go to our channel and he can see the watch that specific talk.
Thank you. Thank you for highlighting this. Okay, with this, probably this would be the end of this talk. With this, I would like to thank again Professor Dr. Rasool Bux Mahar for sharing your experience, sharing your knowledge, sharing your data. Can we switch on your camera so we can have a group photo before? Are we done?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Have a good day, and God bless you all. We hope we'll see you again next week, same time, at 10 o'clock, and we will also share the speaker and the profile and the abstract of the new talk by emails. With this, thank you very much again. Have a good day.
Okay.